got to remember they would kill you in a heartbeat if they could.
Right.
You know, they were super. We had a league table. You know, it was very competitive.
So proper old school, huh?
If you think about what we do, our job is about assessing people, and I think women are actually better at doing that because I drive the business very hard. I'm probably the hardest worker. I'm the biggest biller. I'm always out meeting clients, and clients know me. I've been here 18 years, so everyone knows me for good and bad purposes. But what would I love to do? I'd love to restore old cars.
Right.
Yeah, I've got a 1969 Beetle. Now my clients bought it, and he parks it down below my building, so I see it every day. Why us, David? Why would this person be good for us? That's all they ask me now. And I have to have an answer to that. They gave me a Golf GTI. I was 21 in central London. Happy days.
So I'm in the wrong career.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in the wrong thing. David, welcome.
Thank you
to
very
the Winner's
much.
Show. A fellow recruiter.
Yes, a rare breed we are.
It's a rare breed. You were just telling me about the dark arts of what we do.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a dark art or a skill. I'd like to think it's a skill rather than a dark art.
Don't tell them that, David. It's a dark art. It's a dark art. Okay, David. Thank you so much for making it. You're a way more experienced recruiter than I am. You've been in the game for a couple of decades now.
Yeah, oh, don't say that. It makes me sound really... Yeah, 30 years.
30 years.
Joined Michael Page when I was 20.
Right.
And I'm now 54.
Right. You don't look at
Thank you.
a single bit.
I was just fishing for that.
Well, listen, you've just literally ran an ultra marathon. Tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, really short story. I'm a triathlete by sort of trade, and it keeps my mind away from work to a degree because I work so hard. And I've just been to Aula, which is in Saudi Arabia. It's the northern part of Saudi Arabia. Right. Beautiful, stunning. It's like Nevada. And I just did a 48k ultra marathon, and I'm tired, Sami. Really tired.
You don't look tired. I met you out there. You're good to go. You look like you could run another marathon.
I got to run one soon, actually.
You need to.
But yeah.
Do you ever stop, David?
No, actually, oddly enough, I don't. That's probably what keeps me going, if that makes sense. I'm a recruiter. I always will be a recruiter. I happen to run a company, and that's actually not my favourite part of the job. Right. My favourite part is recruiting and meeting people, and I think that gives me the buzz. Right. And my wife said to me the other day, "When are you going to retire?" And I just said, "Never. What am I going to do?" And so I use triathlons and I use sport as a way of release. And for me, I spent the weekend with 4 friends, none of them are in recruitment, and we just decompressed and ran. When you're running for 7.5 hours through the desert, you don't think about an awful lot. You just switch off and just go with it. And it's a very good way of just creating a bit of calm in your mind.
How does that relate, do you think, to what you're doing as a business owner?
Our business is very interesting, isn't it? Recruitment's changed an awful lot. You know, there was the advent of AI, and I ran Monster in Europe for a bit. So we were going to kill recruitment companies, and funny enough, we didn't. And I don't think anyone will kill recruitment companies, because I think what we've moved to now as a discipline is about assessment and selection. The acquisition piece will be taken by AI. Right. You know, there will be ChatGPT or something will acquire the candidates. It's my job and your job to assess those candidates and represent them to a client as the best people for their particular company. So I think with recruitment now, I think you have to be much more connected with your clients and much more connected with your candidates. You have to get to know them. And I think the days of speccing people out and not seeing them are over.
Right. And you don't think AI is going to be taking that spot anytime soon?
Sami, I'm 54. I don't care.
Good answer. That's not reassuring for me.
No, that's a glib answer. Yes, I think it will, but there will always be a place for a human until there's a point where we have Skynet and humans will cease to exist. Done. Yeah, I think our business is all about people, because the people we're selling the candidates to or convincing them to see are people that want to know, what are they like as a person? You know, what's their family like? How do they come across an interview? And some of those things I'm not sure AI, certainly for the next 5 or 10 years, can't do. I think AI is very good at maybe finding a candidate through a network, through spiders or whatever, But trying to find assess somebody like you and me when we sit face to face is much more difficult.
It's very different.
Yeah.
It's very different. It's all about that human connection ultimately, right? You get to a point where, I mean, this may be possible, I don't know however many decades later or maybe a few years later, but it's as far as I can see it, Chat GPT or whatever it is, isn't going to be taking over that aspect anytime soon. But listen, David, I'm really curious about your kind of background, right? You've been doing this for a very long time. How did you start your recruitment career?
I was basically in the army as a cadet, did really badly, failed as a soldier, which is the irony is now my son is a soldier. And I got into a TV company. I was selling airtime. I loved it. It was really cut and thrust. It's very different to the army.
Right.
And then I got approached by Michael Page, who were looking for graduates. And I'm not a graduate, oddly enough. I don't have a degree. I have an HND, which apparently stands for have no degree, as my sons keep telling me, who are both graduates.
Have no degree, I like that.
And Page put me into their graduate scheme as the only non-graduate.
Right.
So I was the dark horse. And I was given the chance by a guy called Steve Ingman, who's actually just resigned from Page. He had a bad accident. And I spent 7 years with Page and I did really, really well. And the reason I did really well, I threw myself wholeheartedly into recruitment. And they trained people really well. They were really good at pushing us really hard. And it was a proper culture of you work 12 hours a day. We worked 12 hours a day.
Right.
And then we'd have a beer in the evening and stuff like that. And it was like a massive family.
Right.
Very competitive family, slightly dysfunctional family, but I loved it.
As all families are,
exactly.
Right?
But it was lovely. It was a really good place, and I got made a director in Page when I was 27.
Right.
And because they saw the potential, and then I left and joined TMP and ran their sales and marketing business. And I ran Monster.com in UK and Europe for about 6 years.
What do you think? What qualities do you think set you apart? One, to excel so well and be promoted to that position at 27.
Yeah.
And then kind of, that trajectory that you took in your recruitment career. What qualities, if you were to really boil it down?
I think commitment. I was wholeheartedly committed. And I think the problem I see in recruiters these days, they want an easy path to victory. And there isn't an easy path. You have to work. We used to phone people. We used to phone count. I'd meet people late in the evening. I'd interview people early in the morning. I'd always be available. And it was my life to a degree. And I don't see that anymore, oddly enough.
Right.
I really don't. I think recruitment has lost that drive to a degree. And I think with Page, they captured us perfectly. We were all 21, 22. They gave us a car. This is a classic. So after a year, if you survived a year, we got rid of a lot of people. Right. They gave me a Golf GTI. I was 21 in central London. Happy days.
So I'm in the wrong career.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in the wrong thing.
But it was great, and you sort of, they just kept giving you things. Like they suddenly give you a bonus of like £10,000 for a course, and we're like, I had so much money, I didn't know what to do with it.
There we go. We've reached the crux as to why you stayed, David.
You know what? Money ceased to mean anything after all. I invested very well, and it's made me happy now because I've got houses, etc. But I think what it did, it made me part of an environment where if you excelled, you got given stuff, promotion, prospects, and I think I really enjoyed it, and I found a home. And it was a bit like the army. When you're in the army, once you fit in, you fit in. And in Page, I fitted in.
Do you think the people, on that point of fitting in, the people that you worked with really kind of became like your brothers and sisters, that kind of...
To a degree, but you've got to remember they would kill you in a heartbeat if they could.
Right.
They were super. We had a league table. It was very competitive.
So proper old school, huh?
We're talking old school. Now, I don't ever advocate we go back to that because it was a different era, and
really?
I think it's nicer being a recruiter now. My company's a lot nicer place to work now because I've got very different people that would never survive in Michael Page. They're not killers enough. These people are nice people that actually love what they do.
Do you think Michael Page has changed that even within
Page has changed massively. It's become a lot more of a, we had very few women in Michael Page in those days, which was really odd.
Yeah.
It was all men virtually. And then a few women started, and then we got the environment changed to being a less testosterone driven environment and became a better workplace, I think.
Right.
And Page has developed.
Why do you think there has been that change?
I think that if you think about what we do, our job is about assessing people. And I think women are actually better at doing that. It's a factual thing. Okay. They've got a better EQ. And I think and there's less of an ego-driven side to them, and I think they're better at doing than we are, unfortunately. If I look at my business now, 70% of my consultants are female.
Right.
Yeah, and they're very successful. Now, I'm very pro-female because I do think I set up a business called Women at Work here in the Middle East, and that was a personal pet project, not because I'm particularly PC. I'll give you a very short story. When my father was a soldier, he came to present at my school when I was 13. I went to a boys' school, and there were 3 girls in our school. They were just when they were starting to become co-ed. And he talked about the army and what it was like to fight and stuff. He was a proper soldier, unlike me. I was a failed soldier. And my friend Sarah stood up and said, this is an 82 or something, why are there not women on the front line?
Right.
And everyone just laughed. And he went, it's a really good point. I said, I see no issue in women fighting alongside me. That was for a guy that was 40 years old, decades late.
Right.
And it stuck in my mind, and I realised that women should be equal in everything they do. There's no reason they can't be, including soldiers.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. I see it now, and I've been recruited before.
Yeah.
I've hired female recruiters, and I see it. They, in my experience anyway, women just tend to have there's a level of connection that they can have with a candidate, which a lot of the guys that I've maybe worked with, it perhaps doesn't exist to the same extent, right?
Yep.
So I can see, especially in recruitment and sales, that can be really beneficial. So you went to Monster.
Yep.
What happened after that?
Oh, Monster was great. I got recruited in they paid me a lot of money, money. And then they put me on a plane for 5 days a week for 4 years and basically ground me into the dirt. But I loved it. Monster was an amazing brand. It was the beginning of the .com.
Right.
We could do anything. I mean, literally, we could do anything. We had this massive hot air balloon that was 120 feet high, and he used to fly it around to different campuses and stuff. It was just madness.
Crazy.
But Monster worked really well. It was taking away from what Michael Page and all the other recruitment companies were doing.
Right.
And they had to buy us, and it was great. But then it sort of missed the beat. I left in 2004 to set my own business up. And I got fed up because I was traveling all the time, never saw my kids. And I remember in a apocryphal moment, I was in my bedroom in Richmond holding my son, and a plane went past, and he pointed and went, "Daddy." And I was like,
you should be in there.
I was like, oh God, no. Who does he think I am?
A pilot.
Yeah, exactly. So I sort of got to the point where Monster, it was everything, and they paid me so well. They treated me really well, and at the end they were a superb employer. But I had to go and do my own thing. I had that wanderlust to set my own business up and to spend more time with my family.
Right. That kind of half answers my question. Why did you, apart from spending time with your family, apart from not maybe traveling as much, why did you take that leap onto doing your own thing?
I think you have to. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to at some point in your life take that leap. Was it the brightest thing I've ever done? Probably not. In terms of earning potential, I'm earning a third of what I earned at Monster.
Right.
Yeah, I earn a lot of money.
Right.
And money doesn't mean so much to me anymore because I have a good quality of life. My kids have gone. So I think I wanted to figure out if I could actually do it by myself. Am I any good? Because when you're at Page or at Robert Walters or Half, you're in a machine that feeds you to a degree. And I think that's why there are more specialists in the Middle East than there are big ones. And they're equally respected as the big ones. Because I think you have to be able to sit in a room with a phone and drum up business and then drum up candidates and connect the two and then collect the money and then grow a business. And if I'd really thought about it, I may not have done it.
That's that thing. What do they say? Ignorance is a bit of a blessing when you're starting your own thing, right? Because if had you known what you knew maybe 2-3 years down the line,
I'd never failed. That's why.
Right.
Michael Page, I didn't fail. I just succeeded.
Right.
I didn't fail at Monster. I just succeeded. I started my own recruitment company. I've failed so many times.
Right.
I've closed businesses down. I've exited people I shouldn't have done. People have left me that I thought were amazing. I've messed up client relationships. I've done loads of things terribly wrong.
Crazy.
Yeah.
To look at your CV and your experience now, it just looks pristine. It looks like, this guy's not had a failure. Yeah, you would have gone through some difficult times, but to think now, because a lot of what you're saying kind of resonates with me. Our business is nowhere near the size of yours, but a lot of what you're saying is like, yeah, I remember I've done a bit of that, or I've done a bit of this. Yeah. So it's almost like reassuring to hear that. Okay, maybe I'm not so special, or maybe this is the journey that you have to go through to get to that level.
I think I failed more than I've succeeded recently.
Really?
Yeah, I genuinely think we were a big company with 50 or 60 people, and I handed my business over to an MD, and I stepped out to run Women at Work because it was my passion.
When did you do that?
2018.
Right.
And we were very successful, very profitable. We were one of the biggest independents in the Middle East, and I handed it over to a guy that is not necessarily a bad guy, but he couldn't run a business, and it took me 2 years to figure that one out. And by the time I took it back over, my business was decimated. And Mackenzie Jones, as a great name, was from 60 people down to about 20.
Wow.
And then I came back in, restarted it, and then COVID hit. So when I say
your luck in those years, huh?
No, and it's been a brutal couple of years, and I think every recruitment company's been through that. But one thing I can say, we've survived.
Right.
Our brand is still very much intact. We've still got an amazing client base, and we've got some really exceptional people that stuck through that and stuck with me. And I say me because it is me.
Right.
Because I'm the figurehead of the business, and you have to believe in that figurehead, and you have to believe in the journey that person's going to take you through.
That's an interesting one. When you say me, do you think your success, or the strength of the brand was able to survive because of you as a person, or was it? Of course, there are going to be other factors, but do you think that was a key part of why that company, up until now, is successful and is kind of got out of that hole? If you don't mind me using that term in that time. I
think yes. I don't mean this to be a self-effacing sort of thing. I think yes, because I drive the business very hard. I'm probably the hardest worker. I'm the biggest biller. I'm always out meeting clients, and clients know me. I've been here 18 years, so everyone knows me for good and bad purposes. But I think what we've got now is we've got very good people that encapsulate the brand and take it from what I developed it to where it is going now. And I've got a Ukrainian girl called Elena, and she runs HR with me, and she's just really good at that. And I think she's better than me in certain parts. So I think the team is now formed where we all take part in its success. But I think during the dark days, I drove it. I had to. It was my money on the line. I had to pay everyone.
Sure.
Didn't pay myself for a long time, but I paid everyone.
It's so interesting. You're still part of the business. You're still doing the hands-on recruitment up until now, and that shows. You really love what it is, because you don't really need to.
No, and I don't. Well, do I need to financially? I probably do a bit, because I think I want to as well. I really like recruitment. I've been seeing clients today, and we didn't talk about work at all. I saw two HR directors for luxury brands, and we sat under coffee and we talked about everything but work. And then at the end he went, right, I've got 2 roles for you. To me, that's a genius meeting. I had a great time with the guy. He's a very interesting character. I've cemented my relationship, and I got 2 roles out of it. I go them back and give them to the guys.
Absolutely. But that takes time though, right?
Yes.
To develop that. That didn't happen overnight. That would have taken however long,
long time.
Building those relationships and them having that trust and seeing the kind of the credibility that you have as David. What's next for you?
That's a really good question, actually. I got asked this question the other day. Mackenzie Jones will be sold at some point, because I don't want to run a business too much longer. I've done it for a long time. I've been an MD for 15 years, and I think that sort of wears on your soul a bit after a while. What I'd like to do is to move on and become a consultant again in my own business.
Right.
So somebody will take us over, and I will become a consultant for them, and I'll become a business developer. I think I'd like to take it slightly easier. I mean, I work 7 days a week. It can take a toll on your everything, and that's why I'm a triathlete, because I need something to take that pressure off me, where I don't think about candidates and clients and stuff. But what would I love to do? I'd love to restore old cars.
Right.
Yeah, I've got a 1969 Beetle.
Wow.
It's 1 year older than me, and I've had it for quite a long time.
And Beetles, are you into sports cars, Porsches?
Yeah,
Porsche.
I had a 993. Until recently, I had a 997, 911. I loved that. I had 11 years. Now my clients bought it, and he parks it down below my building, so I see it every day. So irritating.
Just to piss you off,
yeah, exactly. It's exactly what he does. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm taking each year. I'm enjoying it now, because COVID was rough, and I think for anybody in recruitment, this is a healing process.
100%.
Next couple of years, and
100%.
I think the Middle East is a great place to work, and I think Saudi is dragging a lot of our consultants over there to do work over there.
Interesting.
And I think there's a lot of learning to be done here. And I think there's a problem with recruitment in the Middle East. I don't think people treat it as a career anymore. We're getting a lot of Europeans coming over. They do 2 years, they move on, do 2 years, they move on. There's nobody really treating it as a proper career, I think.
Long-term.
Yeah. And I think it's become a very account management culture.
Right.
You know, I'm a 360 recruiter, so I win business, I fill jobs, and I source candidates. Actually, I don't source candidates anymore. I have a resourcer called Sue who's been with me for 3 years. She does all my candidate acquisition. Awesome lady.
But you're still part of that side. You still deal with the candidates as opposed to going out and finding them.
Of course.
Once your assistant finds them, you're part of that process, right?
I own the process because ultimately, if I make a fee, that's down to us as a team. But I have to make sure I sit in front of you as a client and go, this person's good for you because of this.
Of X, Y, Z. Yeah.
And this is what I think we've got a very good reputation because we're all slightly older. We're all the wrong side of 35, which is a good thing. And I think that...
wrong side of... I'm going to have to keep that one.
Yeah, TM that
I'll give you credit.
So I think it's with clients now, they actually say to me, why us, David? Why would this person be good for us? That's all they ask me now. And I have to have an answer to that.
And that takes time. That's because you know the candidate and you know the client. And you can put the two together. David, pleasure having you. We'll need to go for a mini triathlon. maybe a third of it. Just the swim.
Or round the park.
Round the park.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure having you.
Excellent.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you liked it, leave a like, share, comment, subscribe, leave a good review, good rating. And if there is someone else that you'd like me to have a chat with, let me know in the comment section. Again, don't forget to share this. That's how we're going to get the word out there. That's how we're going to build a community around what we're doing here. Follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, all kind of major platforms, and we'll be releasing every week. So stay tuned.